The Yoruba of Nigeria say that in the beginning of the world was all marshy and watery, a waste place. Above it was the sky where Olorun, the owner of the sky, lived with other divinities. The gods came down sometimes to play in the marshy waste, descending spider webs which hung across great gaps like fairy bridges. But there were no men yet, for there was no solid ground. One day, Olorun, supreme being, called the chief of the divinities, great god, into his presence. He told him that he wanted to create firm ground and asked him to set about the task. Great God was given a snail shell in which there were some loose earth, a pigeon, and a hen with 5 toes. He came down to the marsh and threw the earth from the snail shell into a small space. Then he put the pigeon and the hen on the earth, and they started to scratch and scatter it about. Before long, they had covered much of the marsh, and solid ground was formed. When Great God went back to report to the Supreme Being, the latter sent a chameleon to inspect the work. The chameleon, in its prominent figure in many African myths, and it's noted for its slow, careful walk, its change of color to suit its environment, and its big rolling eyes. The chameleon reported that the earth was wide but not dry enough. Then he was sent again, and this time he said that it was both wide and dry. The place where the creation began was called Ife Ile, Ife meaning wide, and Ile meaning house. The making of the earth took 4 days, and the 5th day was reserved for worship of God, and ever since a week of 4 days has been observed, each one of which is sacred to a divinity. Then the Supreme Being Creator sent Great God back to the earth to plant trees, to give food and wealth to humans. He gave the palm nut of the original palm tree, whose nuts give oil and whose juice supplies drink. 3 other common trees were planted, and later rain fell to water them. Meanwhile, the first people had been created in heaven and were then sent to earth. Part of the work of making people was entrusted to Great God, and he then made human beings from the earth and modeled their physical features. But the task of bringing these dummies to life was reserved for the Creator alone. It was said that Great God was envious of this working of giving life, and he decided to spy on the Creator to see how it was done. So one day, when he had finished molding human forms, he shut himself in with them overnight and hid behind them so that he could watch. But the Creator knew everything, and he sent himself into deep sleep. And when he woke up, the human beings had come to life. Great God still makes only the bodies of men and women, but he leaves his distinct marks on them, and some bear signs of his displeasure. One theme in this myth is Supreme Being because they believed in a great god, Olorun. Another theme in this myth is humans being formed from the earth because Olorun created humans out of clay. The last theme in this myth is differentiation because Olorun created distinct things out of what was once a formless unity.